Worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. Big King Sadiq hollering at you one more again. All right, folks, man, I love you all, of course, as usual. Please continue to like, share, subscribe. Please hit the like button. Um, and please hit the little notification bell, right? Those two things. One, the notification bell, make sure that you see the video, and the like button tweaks the algorithm in such a way that the video appears more frequently. All right, so this is not exactly a continuation, but sort of picking up where we did leave off on a different side of the last video, um, referencing uh, uh, things like um, dark or negative, low vibrational frequency energies, um, how to deal with those things, the extreme end of it, spiritual possession, right? Um, how to recognize those things, what that looks like, what that actually is, right? We talked about that and some of the connections between that, some esoteric things and some metaphysical things. Um, so we sort of came at it from an identification angle, right? Um, and now, as promised, so to speak, I want to touch on the remedies, right? So, a couple of characteristics I'll start out with first is you will notice in the individual um, or group um, a difference in behavior for sure. Obviously, not for the better, right? Um, you'll notice a shying away of certain things, right? Saying a shying away from things that express pure love, unconditional love, right? Um, even ways of physically expressing that, like hugs. Hugs are often avoided by these individuals or persons struggling with this, um, especially like a real sincere hug. Is almost like kryptonite, right? Uh, really weakens um, the stranglehold that that entity or that energy has on the person's consciousness, right? And more importantly, it refreshes the connection with the actual person, right? Whose vessel it is, right? And sort of helps to at least a little bit bring them out of that fog, because that's probably a decent description of what folks are going through, what their perception of this situation is, which would explain why they lose concept of time and things whatnot. It's very almost like a fog, right? Your consciousness is dulled to a fog. So they have some level of awareness of what's going on, but not enough to um, react or control their vessel, right? Um, but yeah, hugs or that's a connectivity that is powerful. There's unconditional love that is transferred. They're very high vibrational frequencies, right? Are exchanged in that physical act. So someone who is dealing with that, either struggling with low vibrational frequency energy or entities, all the way up to the extreme of possession, they're going to shy away from that, right? Um, And that's one big difference in my sort of explanation to this in the classical um, sort of Catholic explanation to the subject matter, right? Um, is that in the traditional description of uh, possession, it's like, first of all, the person is being victimized, right? They don't have any power, right? And you'll see in a minute why that plays a big difference in how I describe things. Um, and obviously, the religious ties, the remedy is, get out the crosses and the shouts of you know, I rebuke you and you know, the Jesus proclamations and so forth. And again, folks, a reminder, no judgment on anyone's religion, nor would I pick fun at anyone's religion, right? I think we should respect each other's spirituality and how we express that individually. And if your expression happens to be in a religious environment, background setting, or some sort of a structure, that's you're right, and that doesn't make you wrong. Even if there are some things that within your religion, right, or that doctrine sort of maybe delay, hold you back, or sort of put a bit of pause on your ascension process. That's all right. It ain't gonna stop it. It ain't gonna stop it. And for some high vibrational frequency things that you need to discover within it, within your religious uh, lexicon there, um, you'll find it, right? You'll find what you deem inappropriate and what you need to change. Okay. Um, but yeah, so that's a big difference. Is that when you look at those movies, you always see someone who is you know helpless to stop this from happening to themselves, and the only remedy is the one that the church quote unquote offers up through their practice, um, of ridding the person of that quote unquote demonic attack, right? Exercising that that entity or low vibrational frequency energy. All right. So yeah, we're not talking about victims, right? Or delving into the victimology of it. Because a very important reason. We cannot remove our power from the situation, right? And that we cannot get away from our own culpability, right? And or our responsibility um, to go through the spiritual maturation process. You're here for a reason, folks. You go through all these trials and tribulations for a reason. Your life looks the way it does, drama included, for a reason, right? Like I said, when we're manifesting, we are most often manifesting from our subconscious, which is where those issues lie and all the lessons that we need to learn. Okay, so that's that. So if a person um, has been usurped and taken over through the process of spiritual possession, and if it is the way they describe it in the sort of Catholic setting, then that person is a victim who, unless successfully exercised, and we know they show that in many of the exorcisms, the person does not survive, right? So we have a situation where this person is a victim. They may not survive the process of the exorcism, and they are powerless to help themselves. They may very well die in that condition. Okay. So then the remedy offered in the Catholic scenario is the exorcism, through the rebuking and relying on of uh, Jesus Christ, right? Okay, that's that's their that's a watered down explanation of their exorcism rites or rituals. But the point is that the power is never in the hands of the person who's being exercised or the person who is possessed. Okay. Now, note that with the remedies I offer, all right, or at least bring up for you to research for yourself. So there are, on a scientific scale, well, I should say on a scientific scale, just looking at it from a very basic physics standpoint, what have we been talking about the whole time with possession? Low vibrational frequency, right? So introduce into the environment that person, that energy, that entity is, enter into that environment high vibrational frequency input, right? Um, there are actually videos on YouTube, I'm pretty sure of, and maybe some other platforms that play a like a high pitched frequency um, sound that resonates like throughout your room, right? And it is, I can verify, at least very uncomfortable for these entities and or energies, right? Quite possibly done with repetition, enough volume, and your own consciousness interaction. Folks, our consciousness interacting with things most certainly makes them that much more powerful, right? And that much more viable as a tool for us to use. Okay, so um, you can play those frequencies, and there's actually one that says that it kills the archon parasites, and that's actually a way that you can look up those frequencies. So there's that. Um, there is introducing high vibrational frequency modalities like the high vibrational frequency water or holy water that in previous videos I've showed you all how to make. Um, high vibrational frequency foods that you have imbued your high vibrational frequency energy and intent into, right? Um, I've showed ways in which we can put high vibrational frequency energy into the modality of marijuana or cannabis, right? All of these things introduced into the environment of these beings, entities, or individuals, um, really, with the proper um, intertwining with your consciousness, can really be effective, right? In that aim. Um, but probably the most effective remedy, not probably, most certainly, the most effective remedy is the unfathomably powerful energy of true unconditional love. our Creator's love, right? Um, that is without question um, simply too powerful, right, for that vibrational frequency, that low vibrational frequency, energy, entity, etc., to exist in the same environment with, right? Simply like cannot even exist in the same environment with. Um, Certainly not for long. So that is the ultimate remedy. Um, and then here's where we differ in actually putting it into action, right? Greatly from the Catholic remedy, so to speak, is that the actual, I don't want to say conclusion, the actual execution of eviction or vessel liberation, which, by the way, is much more viable now on the planet because of the spiritual work that myself and others have put in, right? That the light workers are putting in on the planet, affecting the planet's electromagnetic grids. Okay. Um, Very effective on a metaphysical level. Okay. And now in this new energy, make vessel liberation through these processes or whatever process you may develop. Um, Very viable and something that is widespread accessible, right? Okay, but again, the most effective means of concluding or coming to a point of freeing the individual from that, or what I term vessel liberation, right, is to make connection with the individual. Now, obviously, if their conscious is hijacked, um, you're not going to have an easy time getting through that barrier, so to speak. I spoke about a couple of things that do that, like the deep affectionate hugs, conveying our Creator's love, unconditional love, and um, the high vibrational frequencies, right? Also, high vibrational frequencies slash holy water, um, foods, plants, whatnot, imbued with that kind of energy, right? All of that, no matter the modality, is effective, right? Very much effective, but um, has got to be used to um, break down the barrier in consciousness between you and that individual, so that you can communicate to that individual the key, because they must do the work. There's the stark difference between the remedy I'm offering up and what the quote unquote Catholic remedy would be. Um, they're not being saved, they're saving themselves, right? Because, again, we're not here to be saved, right? We're here to mature spiritually. Now, that may be a somewhat radical form of spiritual maturation for a person to have to go through, but everyone is not ascending from the same point, right? All ships rise, all ships in the harbor rise with the tide is the same. But remember, not all those ships are in the same place, nor are they necessarily at the same elevation, right? So I say that to say that um, not everyone is the same, quite obviously. And their process is going to look different, right? and what you have to do to get through that barrier may be different with depending on the difference of the individual. But you must get through that barrier to communicate to their consciousness so that they can cognize. That means that they can really get to the point of belief that does not require physical proof, but that they know it intrinsically, right? Um, it may be a difficult process, but they most certainly need to have that um, sort of push in the right direction, where you break down and weaken that barrier, right? That sort of begins the eviction process, the vessel liberation process. Um, and then while the energy slash entity, whatever is in that weakened state, and communication can effectively be made um, with the individual's true consciousness, right? And which you communicate the key to liberation, which is for them to cognize, to realize that the creator is not just some concept that is some pie in the sky, or, you know, in some imaginary heaven somewhere, right? The creator is everywhere and nothing exists outside of the creator. And with that knowledge, know that the creator is right within you. So you most certainly need to communicate that to that person in a way that they can truly grasp and cognize, because they will have to essentially, with their heart, cry out vehemently to their creator for help and to make the connection, a clean, uninterrupted connection between them and the creative source within, right? To focus all of their true unconditional love within toward their creator. And what they receive is what I'll term a blast, right? Of true unconditional love that is far too powerful to permit any further compromisation, and results in vessel liberation, right? So they always had the power to do the work themselves. You just had to remind them and inform them as to what work needed to be done, right? And all of this is done in mature, divine, compassionate action. It all comes from a place of compassion and must to be effective, right? You are doing this out of true unconditional love for that person, individual and or group, right? Um, so yeah, folks, we most certainly have means, particularly now in this new energy, uh, to execute vessel liberation, to free anyone's consciousness that has been hijacked, rather to help them do so for themselves. All right. So if you know someone in that situation, or you're dealing with that, or it's a family member or friend or associate or whatever, um, first of all, don't lose hope, right? Trust in your creator. Understand it's just part of the process, that they're still going to ascend the same way you will. It's just that their process of ascension is that much more difficult, because they have that process of liberating their own consciousness that first must happen, right? But at least now you know some incredibly powerful things that you can do to help, right? Okay, folks, man, we learned a little bit of something, something, right? Um, of course, I did not cover every single in and out on this subject. If you folks have anything you'd like me to cover further in future videos, slap that in the comments. I'm sure I'll go back and revise, or speak on this subject again in a different way um, later on down the line. But for now, I hope that that was helpful and informative. And just one more thing that we're overcoming in paradigm shift, huh? Just one more thing that we're overcoming and paradigm shift. Folks, like I said, it was going to always take for us to do the work, but we're doing the work, right? And paradigm shift is indeed happening now. Thank you all. I love you all truly. Man, please help me to continue to build the worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. Big King Sadiq, I love you all. I'm out.